This is episode 140. We are going to be talking about when to tip and when not to tip. Welcome to Wellness in Every Season, the podcast where we explore the rich tapestry of wellness in all of its forms. I'm your host, Autumn Carter, a certified life coach turned wellness coach, as well as a certified parenting coach dedicated to empowering others to rediscover their identity in their current season of life. My goal is to help you thrive both as an individual and as a parent. Today I have with me Prisca Benson. I can go to somewhere like Panera, and right there, they just helped me for that quick second and it's asking for a tip. This is not something that used to be the case.
Mhm.
I have gone to places where it's a solo business owner, and at the end, they go to charge me, and there's an option to leave a tip. And there's so many cases where this didn't used to be the way, especially if this is a solo business owner. And several cases where, yes, I know to tip in this area. I haven't realized I should tip here type of situation that I've been really coming across. So I reached out to my friend Prisca, and she said a lot of other people are struggling with this too. I asked her, instead of making my own and doing the research, I decided to cheat and ask her to help us out here. So, Prisca, can you give us a little bit of your background so that people know who you are, why you're the authority in this space, and then let's dive in from there.
Yes. So, like Autumn said, my name is Prisca Benson. I'm a money coach, and I've been in the personal finance space since about 2018. And I love everything about learning about money, more so to the simplicity and ease and making it not complicated and not stressful. With this topic, because tipping stress a lot of people out, I'm a big fan of helping people developing their own values around money so that they can spend in according to those rather than what society says. And so that's what we're going to talk about today.
See? Now you know why I chose her right there. So, you gave me a beautiful outline, and I'm already going to blow that off a little bit and not on purpose. Hi, I hope you are enjoying this show, and I just want to take a quick minute to share with you two things that are going on in the background that I'm very excited to announce. The first one is that if you are interested in experiencing any of these healing modalities that the guests that I'm interviewing or that even I'm speaking on during my solo episodes, I am now offering that chance. And let me show you how to get there. If you go to my website, you go to wellnessineveryseason.com/listener wellness guest. Here, this is an automation that starts through my newsletter. Here, you are putting in your first name and your email address and three different things that you are interested in, and you are welcome to explain a little bit more after that, and then you hit apply. Right now, this is your chance to take something that feels just so out there, and it sounds great if you work with that person, and bringing this into I have needs right now. How can I have them met? This sounds amazing what this person is talking about, but I want to see this actually happen with one of my peers that has something similar. This is your opportunity to have that happen. So, wellnessineveryseason.com/listener wellness guest is how you get here. From here, there are three people chosen at random. There's the first guest, and if they say no or their scheduling doesn't work out, it goes to the second guest. Same thing, and then it goes to the third guest. So it's randomized who's chosen. You want this. The second thing that I have to announce is that I'm now offering sponsorships. So this is so people can have ads like this one in my podcast. They can also have ads in my newsletter. And there are very different tiers that you can be in for this. If you know a business that wants this, here's interest form for this, and it's wellnessinneveryseason.com/podcast/podcast sponsor. And you can find this easily on my homepage too, so don't worry about getting that right. And the point of this is so you get deals from aligned wellness branded companies, and so that I can offer sliding scale coaching We all know people who need coaching so badly, who are so ready to put in the work, but they don't have the finances to go along with it for whatever reason in life. This allows me to offer more coaching to people in that category by having people sponsor. Gets you deals, gets me the opportunity to work with more people who can't afford it. So those are my two things, and I'll let you get back to the show. Love you so much, and happy healing and happy wellness.
I want to start with the history of tipping. I feel like that's the least known thing. We know the today's situation when it comes to tipping and how frustrating that can be. But how did this all come to begin with? So there's a, I'm going to name drop to where this research is in case people want to look into it themselves. But originally, tipping came from Europe. So wealthy Americans adopted it in the mid 1800s so that they can seem refined and bourgeois. But it was largely frowned upon in the United States, so much so that there were actually like laws against it. But eventually those laws were repealed. And then when it really came roaring back to actually be a thing that kind of stuck around was actually after enslaved Americans, African Americans were freed and they didn't want to pay them a wage. So therefore, these African Americans who were dependent on these tips, this was their wage versus actually being paid for their labor.
Yeah, the references.
Okay, places where you could find this research. The Federal Reserve Bank of Richmond has this information, as well as the Economic Policy Institute for reference. And then it even became more solidified with the Fair Labor Standards Act, which made it so tip workers, like that the tip came into their wage so that with time, like people like restaurant owners didn't have to pay like a wage, but made sure like they had to just meet a minimum based on how much the staff member was tipped. So this is how like this wildly unpopular custom became solidified in our culture today. And the fascinating thing, at least for me, is that in the US, like this is like a mandatory thing versus when I go visit other countries, it's like almost offensive to be tipping people, which is how it was originally in the United States, where it seemed only the wealthy people were doing it to like the lesser people. That became a whole thing versus now it's so standard here. That's the
And
background.
I went to Dominican Republic in April. Has been on my mind. In
Yeah.
the Dominican Republic, they expect you to tip all over the place.
Mm.
And when we were researching it, we went to good old YouTube for our research. And all the videos were saying make sure to have tons of ones so you can tip people.
Wow.
And it's just a couple bucks here and there to everybody, but it all adds up, right? And then going to the Dominican Republic. And then that's when I had some other experiences and I finally reached out to thinking, you know what? I don't want to do this myself. I'm going to put this on you, the money coach, to do this for us. But
Quick
it's
question
interesting
about the
because
Dominican though. Were you at a resort or were you off resort? I think that's a whole different
even excursions they expected or
Yeah.
driving, but I'm sure it's in the resort areas. That makes sense.
Yeah. So anytime I've traveled, if it is in relation to tourism specifically, then yes, versus if you're local, you don't expect that. Even for myself in restaurants that are in the United States, but are very based on their own culture, it's just like, oh, this is nice if you do it versus you must do it in comparison. So, yeah.
And then I know that tipping, it feels like it became more popularized, more expected
Mhm.
when, and this is really important because this is Labor Day week that we're seeing.
Yeah.
But thinking of Labor Day,
Mhm.
I don't know all the history. That is your job, but I know that it became even more solidified for us in our generation. And when we really became aware of wages for restaurant workers specifically and how low they are paid and how they need those tips to survive.
Yes. And I personally feel like I saw this really solidified after around COVID time because there was such a drastic loss of income for these industries that when it came back, it felt like everybody wanted the piece of the pie, not just the people who originally, like we always did it for restaurants
And haircut.
Yeah, there's certain things that you always did it for, but now it's like everywhere. And also, there's been a stark increase in the cost of living. So I think everybody's just trying to get in where they fit in. Almost if you don't ask, you don't get. But I think what really comes the issue with tipping and the frustrations people have is not just, oh, asking for a tip, but almost demanding it,
Yeah.
whether with words or without, or just by body language. And so just want to talk about, first of all, what we think is standard kind of tipping versus what's optional. Standard tipping, we know that sit down restaurants, you're supposed to tip. Okay. It is of my humble, not humble opinion that if you cannot afford to tip, you cannot afford to eat at that restaurant. Hair salons, barbers, and nail techs, because they do not own, right? A lot of them pay rent to the owner. So the money that you are paying is not going directly to them. So it's customary to tip. Taxis, delivery drivers, those things are customary to tip.
Please speak to that because there's the pleaser side of me that, like, yes, but then there's the I'm trying to take care of my money side of me.
Yes. Because the thing is, the food, I particularly do not usually tip when it comes to pickup orders, unless it's going to be a large pickup order that is going to be like obviously extra work for the staff.
Gone above and beyond.
Yes. But when you are sitting at a restaurant versus pickup, you're sitting at the restaurant, they're coming back and forth, making sure that your needs are attended for. I put in when it comes to pickup order, there's one interaction there, and that's it. You put the order usually online, and then the person comes and brings you your food, hopefully on time. Okay. So there's, as far as I understand it, most people are on the same side of this, that usually with the pickup order, unless it's a very large order, they do not tip. In terms of like things that I feel like is like rare, if ever, to tip, is things like self-checkout. Nowadays, think about like with the grocery store, we're our own labor. So I mean, we're not getting paid for that. So at self-checkout kiosks where you're buying things and then making a payment that way, I wouldn't assume that you would feel forced to tip. Retail stores or places with no direct service, like you wouldn't expect to have to tip.
So what about if you're name dropping again, but Lowe's or Home Depot style, and they are helping you load something in your car? Do you tip then?
I personally do not. I don't know that I've ever had anything that large personally to put into my car, but I don't think it's expected. Usually they have, first of all, the things that would be concerning in terms of getting them to bring the item to my car is like making sure they're safe. So as long as they're using their proper like equipment, like to make sure that they're not going to hurt themselves, I think we're all good. And the thing is, I think also too, my background's in nursing, and we are not even allowed to really take money for anything. And I don't know what's a more demanding service, my opinion, than that. But I
Thanks for
think
helping me give birth.
yeah, but not even just that. Thanks for comforting me when I was sad and I was alone. There's a whole bunch of things that come with nursing that, and I'm not saying that, oh, we should, since we can't get tipped, but it's part of our work. And we are paid fairly for that.
Awkward to do the whole, maybe they didn't give me ice chips, so when I asked,
Yeah.
I didn't chip them. Like that could be really messy.
Yes, it could. So I think it's great that our industry doesn't have those blurred lines. Yes. And when it comes to things like I wouldn't think that it's necessary to tip. Their wages do not depend on you tipping. So I think that's like an easy way to gauge. And we'll talk later too about like how you think through when to tip and when not to, but they're not dependent on your income. And they make good, I don't want to say, I don't want to determine what's a good wage. That's up for interpretation depending where you are, but they make more than minimum.
And then what about for business owners?
So in my opinion, if you are the owner of the business, you should charge me what you think I'm supposed to pay. I see no reason why I'm the one determining your value. Like you should be determining your value. And that's actually a great conversation for entrepreneurs about not putting that expectation on your clients. Make sure you charge a wage that you feel comfortable with, that doesn't make you resent your customers, makes you feel good so that you don't have to feel like, I think, bring some kind of mindset issues when you charge less than what you believe is your value, expecting for someone to give you a tip.
Okay, so what about for those of us who feel like me, please help me feel more normal here, you guys, that if I don't tip them and there's that option, am I saying that they gave me bad service and that whole spiral downhill of that type of thinking?
So I think that for me, what makes it easy for me in terms of determining when not to tip and being comfortable when I do decide that I'm not going to tip is developing my own personal ethos when it comes to money. The reason why our mind gets all wacky when it comes to tipping is because nowadays we have all these options that are like right in front of us for display for everyone to see, right? So the digital tablets, they turn around and they have these preset options. Like they don't even let you decide the number at this point. They just say, hey, let's make this easy for you. But deciding, hey,
Or
15,
you?
20, 25. Yep. And it used to be where even for things like maybe even a pickup order, when a restaurant did have it, it would be like, oh, 5, 10, 15. Now it's like 10, 15, 20 or 15, 20, 25. Like it's creeping up. And so the social pressure of the workers potentially seeing you and the people behind you potentially seeing you adds to potential guilt. We don't want to look cheap. And then two, when they do give you options like the higher options, even though you may feel like I would rather just give 10%, it makes you feel bad to change it.
I like to choose the middle so that I don't feel less bad, and the middle has gotten higher and higher, so yeah,
Yes,
I feel seen
exactly.
right now.
So in terms of like how to decide when to tip, I would say first, think about whether or not this worker depends on your tip for income. If so, then yes, be generous. Was there an actual service given or is it just a transaction? So that's the difference between being at a restaurant and being served versus a pickup order. Did the worker go above and beyond? So of course, if they have, you should feel free to tip. Right? And then you ask if this is in your budget. So if you can't afford to tip at a sit down restaurant where they're serving you, then you can't afford to eat there. Takeout is maybe your better option or whatever other options going through a drive through for another restaurant or whatever. But those are the things to consider. In terms of developing your own principles for what's fair, what's right, and what's not, at least for me, it makes me feel like I don't care what other people think, quite frankly, because I've developed my own values when it comes to money. I know that I'm a giving person. I don't need to prove that to Tom, Dick, and Harry because they don't know me. And if it was a place where it made me feel bad for not doing it when I felt like it wasn't necessary, then I just wouldn't frequent that place anymore. So you have a lot of ownership in yourself to not, nobody can make you feel anything. You choose how you feel. And in managing that is how you can feel better about the choices you make. So that's my tip for it.
And then as of September 3rd,
Mhm.
what is the normal tipping amount, or what should it be?
Yeah, should is a very, mm, I can't even answer that fully. But standard, especially in restaurants, and actually it does depend on the area. Because like your more higher cost of living, it tends to skew a little higher. But in general, restaurants at this point are around 20%. And that is similar across these like service industries. So like your barber, your hairstylist, your nail tech, your pedicurist, all those people. When it comes to things like the hotel staff that's cleaning your room, there's not really a percentage. Some people kind of range from, depending on, I guess, how you have people come clean your room. Some people have people clean their room every day. Other people just have it at the end of the stay. A lot of times I have found personally that when I leave money during my stay, they never take it. So at this point, I don't know what the actual rules are, but they don't take the money until I check out. And then whatever I leave there, obviously I have no clue what happens to it. I assume they take it. So usually at the end of a stay, depending on how long the stay is, how often they've had to clean, but it's maybe $5 to $10 a day for the housekeeping staff. And then when it comes to like your Uber delivery driver or your taxi driver, I think 15 to 20% is the norm.
And that's okay. I feel better that it is still about 20%.
Yeah.
Seeing those fads and seeing it be higher and higher has been
Yep.
making me, wait a second, am I really that disconnected? Thank
Mhm.
you. Everybody else who feels same way. Yes, Prisca, thank you. All right, what else do you have for us?
So I just want to say, I mentioned this already about building, tipping in where it's appropriate. Make sure to build it into your purchase so that it doesn't have to catch you by surprise. You don't need to feel some type of way about it. And don't make a big stink about it. I know sometimes I've seen stuff on the internet where like they go to make a point on the receipt, like they make it big zeros and they make a whole scene. Like, let's be good people, okay? And they make remarks like, oh, I'm not here to pay your salary. Don't eat there. I just don't understand that. There's no reason to make other people feel bad. They did not invent tipping, okay? That wait staff did not invent it, so be kind. And
And there's
then
the other
this,
way.
yep,
If you're the wait staff, remember that
yes,
people are struggling and they might not have had cash for whatever reason. I grew up extremely poor. I did not learn about tipping. I did not
yes,
know I needed to tip my hairstylist until my mom told me as she's driving me away. And I'm like, then turn around and I'll tip the guy.
yeah.
No, it's too late. Why? We're just now leaving. Anyway, so we all grew up with different circumstances, and not all of our parents took time to actually teach us things.
Yes. And actually, that's a good point because when I was growing up, so my culture, I'm of Haitian background, tipping is not a huge thing in our culture. So I used to get my hair done by other Haitians or Africans or whoever. Like that was never a thing really about tipping. But my sister is not a hairstylist, and she is the one that put me on. Hey, you need to tip your hairstylist, and I was like, okay, good to know. Like you said, people who are serving these people as well should give grace. Don't just go on to judgment. There are also things like that on the internet where they're like shaming people for not doing
Mhm.
certain things. Again, there's certain things that I feel like are standard. If you go to a restaurant, you should expect, I don't think anybody believes that you're not going to tip at a restaurant. Just about the amount. Like maybe the person did 15 versus your typical 20, they shouldn't deserve to be shamed. I just think that in general, shaming does very little for most people. It doesn't serve a lot. The person's behavior is probably not going to change just because you shame them. But educating people is, I think, a great practice.
And plus, when you come across with that whole energy,
Mhm.
it will affect the next table you're waiting on.
I
So
can
you could
imagine that.
actually get tipped higher.
Yep.
There is that whole, okay, just let it go. Next
Yep.
person.
And even another thing that could be helpful is carrying cash because cash has a limit, right? I think the us getting used to using cards all the time, which they have great features. I'm a big proponent of credit cards. But if tipping is like so uncomfortable for you, you can determine, okay, this is how much I expect to spend on my meal. This is how much I expect to tip and bring that much so that way you don't feel like you have to add extra on it. But it's also good. I've tipped people who weren't even serving me because I just saw them doing a good job. And so tipping allows you to be generous as well. It's not, we don't just need to look at it from the perspective of what it's like the mental know, mess that it creates for us, but it also has a lot of positive effects. Like when I see, remember I went to California and this woman, she was just working her butt off. And I was like, I don't know what she's doing. She was so much better than my waitress. And so I just gave her, I just gave her like a meal's worth of cash. I was like, listen, you're doing so good. I just want to encourage you. I want you to keep that spirit of that helpfulness, that kindness, and I want you to do more of that. So that's the alternate side of tipping where you could do it if someone it really does stick out for you and you value what they're doing to also be generous.
I love that.
So the last thing I'll add is that if you have determined for yourself that this is not a situation where I feel like I should tip, meaning this person is not dependent on my tip for a wage, no service was rendered, this is just a transaction, and yada yada, whatever you decide is your ethos when it comes to it, then learn to not be ashamed or feel guilty about that choice. And it makes it easier if you make that choice before you get to the place. Because if you decide it, if you're doing it in like when they flip it to you and you might even give a look of miffed, and then that creates a whole energy that you don't even need to deal with. Make the decision before, no thanks, and call it a day.
Oh, so there's a car wash by my house,
Mm,
and I would forget to bring cash to tip, and they
mhm,
didn't have a way to have a Venmo there or anything else, so I started avoiding it until I became in the habit of carrying cash. It just don't judge me. In my glove box, it's only a couple dollars, so it's not like
mhm.
a huge amount. So I could go to that one if I'm on that side of town. If I'm on another side of town, it's a drive-through one, there's nobody around, like, I don't have to worry
Mhm.
about it. But what do you recommend for people that find themselves in my situation where it's one that, "Oh, I didn't realize they needed to tip in this moment. I didn't realize there was going to be actual people at the end of this that the
Yeah.
tip is expected."
Yeah, I've been there before, and not even just not expecting it, but we're such a cashless society that sometimes I've gone because I don't go to car wash that often that I remember, oh yeah, I need to bring cash that day. So I've been in that situation. When I have not had the cash, I remember that next time. I'm like, I will make sure that before this, instead of feeling guilty, that doesn't serve anything. They don't need to feel your guilt. Your guilt doesn't serve you either. Next time I'm going to do better. Make sure I have something. And then on the flip side, what you said about the fact that because you didn't have cash, you would go somewhere different or you just avoid that one. Again, going back to what I said about the restaurant, if you don't have the money to tip, then do not intentionally go somewhere where you know you're supposed to tip. That to me is uncool. The thing that's wary too about this is how much when it comes to your car wash. I would say still keep it about 20%, even though that's going to be divided among multiple people, because you don't know how many people are going to work your car. So you can't predetermine how much each person's going to get. So you go based off the service and you call it a day.
Right, and it's really fast, like, they're just drying off the car.
Yep.
I make sure that the inside of the car is clean, so it's just the outside part. But, yeah, I make sure that I have a little bit of cash in my wallet now that I carry a wallet again.
Yes.
Getting rid of diapers was amazing, and I decided I'm gonna carry no bags and just have my phone. I didn't have a place to put cash, just the cards and my
Uh,
phone because cashless society.
yes.
I started putting some in the glove box and just $5 at a time, and now I have about $5 in my wallet now that I carry a purse again.
Where do you keep your license?
My wallet is with my license now. Before I had a different phone case, but it kept
Okay.
breaking and I got sick of replacing that same phone case. And it was
Gotcha.
one where you could slide it and it had room for 3 cards, like my
Okay.
credit card, my driver's license, and insurance card.
Gotcha.
Literally all that could fit in there, not even cash. So that created the problem.
Yes. Understood.
Yeah. Okay.
That's all. I think that covers like the bulk of it. I think we've covered all the arguments I've ever encountered in regards to tipping. And I feel also the new piece is definitely the history. I think that in all the years I've heard arguments about tipping, this is the first time that I've heard of the origin of why it occurred and why it became a part of our society. And the fact was just that they didn't want to pay people of color. So there you go. Okay.
And find it to be so frustrating now because things have not gotten cheaper since COVID. Grocery shopping, going to the grocery store is a Costco dollar amount at the end.
Yes.
It has not the fluctuation has not gone down, and
Mhm.
hopefully one day it does, hopefully my lifetime, especially before our kids get to be full-on teenagers because it's
Yeah.
and I'm trying so hard to behave with money. I've
Mhm.
really been focusing on the that part of my wellness is financial.
Yes.
And having everybody asking for extra money from me is very frustrating. And I know I'm not the only one feeling this way.
Mhm.
Feeling the pinch from everything being more expensive than it used to be. And
Yes.
then people expecting more money on top of that. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that this is the situation we're in. We all have to be stewards of our own finances. So when it comes to whether or not, again, if you are frequenting someplace that is making you feel badly about tipping, you can choose not to frequent there, right? That person though does not choose, cannot, I don't say they all have a choice but to work there, but we all have to work somewhere, right? So we have a lot of onus in ourselves to take control of where we can, because there's some places where we can't. Like we have to eat, so therefore we need to go to the grocery store. But do you need Instacart to do the pickup? Do you need DoorDash for dinner? These are all choices you get to make, so that way you can control what is in your control. That's my big thing about it. Like, there's a lot of talk about Of course, we know our money doesn't stretch as far as it used to, but complaining about it does nothing,
Correct.
right? If there's political action you want to take or societal action you want to take, yes, you could do that. But at the end of the day, you still got to do your budget. If anything comes out of it, it's going to be a long time. And in the meantime, you have to figure out how to make your situation work for it.
Correct. And I know so many people who, especially with everything going on with the government that's as political as I'll get for you guys, a lot of layoffs have happened.
Yes.
And a lot of people are going to Instacart, DoorDash,
Mhm.
Uber so that they can gain some kind of income while they're looking for permanent employment. So
Yes.
thinking about it this way, how unfair is it for you not to tip those people properly,
Yeah.
knowing that
Yes.
they are barely making ends meet? This is just so they can put food on their own table, so that they can pay their own mortgage, car payment, whatever, the bare minimum things,
Yeah.
so that they can then gain long-term employment.
Excellent point. Because a lot of times, that's another thing I see come across the internet where people will feign like they're going to tip, and then they take away the tip after the item has been delivered, or some even worse. And I'm sure none of your listeners are like this, where they pretend like they never received the item to begin with because times are hard and they don't want to pay for the item. And that's just terrible. It's a bad mark on that person who's just trying to make ends meet. There's no DoorDash, Uber Eats drive. None of them are making money out of the wazoo. Okay. Like it's almost crazy how little they make in comparison to how much you're ordering. So nobody's here trying to get over on you. And if you want the thing delivered, you need to account for that cost when you're making that purchase.
And I know people who have looked into it, and the only way that you make enough money to cover bills, especially to cover the cost of gas, is if you
Yep.
are in more of a city area where you're just dropping off, picking up, dropping off,
Yep.
picking up, and you're doing it where you're picking up and it's several drops in a row and they all need to be close together. So
Yes.
think about how much work needs to be put into this for them to make such a small amount in return.
Yes.
It's that for some people, it's a day labor type idea. For some people, this is like their for real deal. And for some, this is just day labor style until in between interviewing, in between job searching, everything else in life,
Mhm.
or to make a side income to pay for Billy who's in a cast, whatever.
Yes. Agreed. And so that's why I think it's important for all of us to find freedom within our own finances so that these little kind of nickel and diming doesn't need to be part of our day to day. Create your own principles when it comes to money and just stick to them. It makes life so much easier, so much simpler. And that's why, if it's cool with you, I just want to share that my 3 steps of financial freedom guide is so practical for this because you not only learn in there how to make your money stretch further, but also how to make it grow faster so that these things stop being like the talking points. It's like some people refer to these the $20, $30 questions when you could be dealing with $1,000, $10,000, $30,000 questions that will impact you in the long term versus the short term.
Yeah. For me, it's the emotional part of it. Like,
Mhm.
well, hold on, I'm second guessing myself. I thought I knew how to do this right. Now I'm wondering, so you really helped me here, and I'm sure I'm not the only one with this. And then I love that it's going, let's go a step further and let's get the rest of your budget in mind and really think long term so
Yes.
that for me, I'm really focusing on as a coach, wellness. I want to
Mhm.
make sure that you are well off, that you're healthy, and you're over here with the finance part, making sure the finances are healthy. Let's bring those
Yes.
together so that you can roll in the door in your 90s and have both in surplus.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Love that.
Thank you for this and for being on with me and for making your schedule work with me because I did not want to do this alone. I knew I would not do it justice. And I was mulling it over for about a month and then it just clicked. Ask Prisca. Duh. Was the next thought I had. Why didn't I think of this before? So that's when I immediately emailed you. So thank you for this.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
And if any of you think of anybody who has complained about tipping or people in your life like this. Pass this on because I know I'm not the only one who's wondered about this. Prisca, you've even said that you've wondered about it, so you had to research it yourself, and that
Yep.
you are seeing tons of other people in your community asking about this. So please share this away. We want to bring out separate the emotion side of this, because emotion and finances, if you can separate them, it's a lot easier in life. And if you can really, like Prisca was saying, think through, what do I want to do in these situations? It makes life so
Mhm.
much easier. It takes out that whole decision fatigue. I don't know if
Yes.
any of you out there are like me, but the more decisions I have to make in a day, the more brain tired, crabby mommy comes out.
I like that point you made, Autumn, when you talk about so emotions and money happen a lot together, but you can have the emotion, understand the emotion, and then make a decision. They do not need to influence one another so directly where, oh, because I feel some way, I'm going to act this way. And that's what systems create. That's what habits create. That's when making the decision prior to the decision being in front of you helps you to do is like, hey, every time in this situation, this is what I do, makes it so that you don't have to have a strong emotion about it every time the situation comes up.
Yeah, having to redecide every time. Blah. No, thank you. I hope you have a
You're
great
welcome.
night, and I hope the rest of you guys have a great rest of your week, and we will see you next time. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode. I am your host, Autumn Carter, a certified life coach dedicated to empowering individuals to rediscover their identity, find balance amidst chaos, strengthen relationships, and pursue their dreams. My goal is to help people thrive in every aspect of their lives. I hope today's discussion inspired you and offered valuable insights. Stay engaged with our wellness community by signing up for my newsletter at wellnessinEverySeason.com/free resources. When you join, you'll have the option to receive a 5-day guide called Awaken and Unwind. 5 days to mastering your mornings and evenings, along with free guides, special offers on my programs, practical tips, personal stories, and much more, all related to wellness, by signing up for both offers on the page. Don't miss out on these valuable resources designed to help you thrive in every area of wellness. Join today and start your journey to wellness in every season. Your shares, subscriptions, and reviews help us reach more people seeking empowerment. So please spread the word about our podcast and about our newsletter. Thank you for being a part of our podcast community. I look forward to continuing our conversation, sharing stories, and exploring wellness in all of its aspects. Take care until our next episode. You can also work with me one-on-one or on demand through one of my programs by visiting wellnessinEverySeason.com/programs. One last thing to cover the show legally: I am a certified life coach giving general advice. So think of this more as a self-help book. This podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. I am not a licensed therapist, so this podcast shouldn't be taken as a replacement for professional guidance from a doctor or therapist. If you want personal one-on-one coaching from a certified life and parenting coach, go to my website, wellnessinEverySeason.com. That's where you can get personalized coaching from me for you. See you in next week's episode.